Over the past few years, I've generated hundreds of thousands of dollars in extra bookings for salons with email marketing. And in this video, I'm going over the exact strategies that I use to increase bookings for salons on a monthly basis. And I'm giving away all of these tips completely for free. So let's get into it. All right, so this is the ultimate salon email marketing guide by yours truly, MJ. But before we get into the meat and potatoes, who am I, right? Who the F am I? Well, my name is MJ. Let me just move this. Apologies. Yeah, it doesn't want to move. Love when that happens. My name is MJ. I'm the founder of Turflow. I've been doing email marketing for 3 years and I've generated hundreds of thousands of dollars in extra bookings for salons, right? So I just wanted to, introduce myself, be polite and actually show you that I have done this and I've proven results and I'm not just some random kid who claims to have done this when he hasn't, right? So let's get into the meat and potatoes. I also just wanted to show you the revenue I've generated as well. The extra bookings, $34,000 with email campaigns and flows, $27,000 for a salon, $35,000 for a salon. So you can see I've actually done this. And I've been around the block, as the kids say these days. So why is email marketing essential for your salon survival, right? Well, there are three main constituents when it comes to email marketing. These are email blasts, automations, and email captures, right? So what are email blasts? Email blasts are one-time manual emails that you send out on a weekly basis or whatever cadence fits you. So to increase bookings and to increase engagement and to build sort of reciprocity with the audience. So think, promotions, Black Friday, Cyber Monday, announcements, haircare tips, founder stories, bestsellers, etc., social proof, things of that nature. Email automations. These emails are triggered based on client behavior, right? So if a client hasn't booked in 90 days, if a client hasn't booked, in 120 days, if a client has booked for the first time, the specific emails will go out based on that client behavior, right? So you can see the difference. Email blasts are manual that you send out to a particular list. Automations work in the background based on client behavior, right? Then email captures. These are pop-ups that appear a couple of seconds after a potential client lands on your website, right? So its primary objective is to collect emails and zero-party data from clients who may not book initially so that you can do back-end marketing to increase the probability of them making a booking with you, right? Because if you think about it, if you're running ads to your website and someone doesn't book initially, right, if they leave your website and go continue with life, there's a very low probability of them coming back to your website and making the booking, right? But if you have systems in place to collect that email and to do back-end marketing, provide them with value, show them that you are a very good salon, that increases the probability of them making a booking with you in the future when they are ready to, right? Because most people won't be ready to book with you immediately, right? Websites worldwide have a 3% conversion rate. That means you're missing out on 97% of people who are not ready to book yet. So you need to have a way, a sort of mechanism to capture them and increase the probability of them booking with you in the future. Right, so let's go into email blasts in depth, right? So when it comes to email blasts, these are not just newsletters. They are direct response cash injections into your salon, right? If you just blast an entire list with generic updates, you are leaving a lot of money on the table. You may make a bit of money, but you are leaving a ton of money on the table, right? Every campaign should be, valuable and specific to a segment, and you should always be asking what's in it for them, right? People are selfish. They only care about themselves and they only care about you once they know what you can do for them, right? So provide value. Everything is reciprocal and transactional, and it's transactional on the basis that you provide them with value and they give you money, right? So make sure your email campaigns are valuable. And you may be wondering how. Well, that's why we're going to the types of email blasts, right? So number one, haircare tips, right? These are weekly educational value drops tailored to specific segments, right? So if someone has, blonde hair, got blonde hair, you're gonna provide them with how to prevent blonde braziness. If someone just got extensions, you're gonna tell them how to wash extensions, how to sleep with extensions, right? These build authority, and they show the client rather that you are trying to provide value to them even when they're not paying you money, right? You care about, how they feel, not only when they're in your chair, but also when they're out of your chair, right? Send founder stories, right? These are high connection emails sharing your salon owner's journey, right? People, buy from people, not, cheap corporate chains. And this is what's going to separate you, right? If someone has a personal connection with you, it's going to be a lot harder for them to switch to a competitor because they've built this relationship with you. And, they're going to be loyal to your brand and they're going to be loyal to you, right? myth busting, right? So these are educational emails that debunk common hair care myths, right? And then we have before and afters, right? These are just, very visual. Someone walks in, you take a picture of their hair before, they do the hairstyle, and then you take a picture after. New hairstyle launch, these absolutely crush, right? We just did one last month for a salon, generated like $2,000 from one email, right? That's $2,000 of bookings in one email, which is absolutely crazy. And lastly, answering, frequently asked questions, etc. Oh yeah, there's more. There's more. You have promotions, right? So think Black Friday, Cyber Monday. If you're running 20% off, 5% off, 10% off, just to get quiet days filled in. Social proof, right? This is just sharing 5-star reviews, links to videos of people in your chairs who are happy, before and afters, etc., etc. Just eliminating buying friction and showing people that you're actually legit, because a ton of people on your list are going to be people who haven't booked yet. And social proof may be the sort of nudge that gets them to make that booking, because they can see that people like them have been to your salon and have had a positive experience, right? And lastly, bestsellers, right? So just show your salon's most requested trending haircuts, etc., etc. And I help people who are undecided book a hairstyle. Right, so how often should you send out email blasts? Well, a weekly cadence that we found that works perfectly is 3 times a week, right? 3 times a week is perfect because, it's not 7 days a week where you're potentially burning your list and potentially burning yourself out, because, there's a lot of labor behind it, designing the emails, a lot of labor behind, writing the copy, sending it out, hyperlinking the text, etc., etc. So 3 days a week work, right? Maybe even 4, maybe 5 days. A consistent data point I found across all the emails is that the more emails you send, the more money you make, right? So you could send out 1 email a week, but I think that is just too low. You're just leaving too much on the table. So 3 is the sweet spot that I found, right? So how do you design email blasts, right? So I'm actually gonna go over to Figma and show you how you do this, right? So this is Figma, as you can see. Okay, I don't know why. Okay, yeah, we're back. So yeah, this is Figma, and this is an email that designed earlier, right? A graphic design of mine designed, right? So this is basically how you do it, right? So you basically have your logo, you have it at the top, right? This is called the above the fold. This is the image that the individual see before they scroll on their phone, right? As 90% of people who view your emails are gonna be on their phone, right? So you'll have your logo, and then this is a rebooking email, right? So it is reminding people to rebook after a 60-day period, after 4 to 8 weeks, etc., etc. So you're gonna be like, hey, time for a refresh, right? So the headline is gonna call out, the main topic of the email, right? You don't want to get them confused. And then you're gonna have a call to action above the fold, right? You want to have it above the fold, because you don't want to create friction, right? You want people to be able to press the button immediately without having to scroll, right? You need to be thinking about these little details, right? And then you want to have a hero image, right? So here we have 2 images of women with very nice hair, right? You want to have a great image in your email. Text-based works as well, just pure text, but images also work because, hair salons, if someone's going to a hair salon, they want to look good, right? So it will be very good if you added an image of someone that they can aspire to look to, right? And then after that, you have text here, right? So here, as I mentioned, it is a rebooking email. So it's been about 6 weeks, right? You see the specificity. It's been about 6 weeks. It's not just generic. We're not just saying, hey, we haven't seen you in a while. There's specificity attached to it. And then you have a second call to action, right? Which just says book an appointment, and we have the logo here. So this is basically the general gist that you can use when it comes to designing your emails, right? Have your logo, have your headline, which calls out the main topic of the email, have a call to action, right? Have a hero image or 2, 3, 4, etc., etc. Doesn't really matter. Have a bit of copy, right, to basically outline the premise of the email, and then have another call to action and your logo at the bottom, right? So that's basically how to design it, right? So that is it when it comes to email blasts. Email blasts are extremely important, right? Generated, $22,000 as I showed, just alone email campaigns, right? So now we're going into the email automations, right? So email automations, right? Unlike weekly campaigns that you manually create and blast out to a list, automations are your 24/7 background machines, right? These are pre-built, set and forget email sequences that trigger based on client specific behaviors and actions, right? As you can see here, they generated $20,000. This is just automations that we've just set up. And we haven't touched nothing manual about it. We just set it up once and it generated $20,000 in about 4 months, right? In extra bookings. Who wouldn't want that? Wouldn't you want that for your salon? Just free money, right? That's why I love email. I love email, and not enough salons are taking advantage of it. It's so easy to do. So what are the types of email automations, right? Well, we have the welcome automation, right? This is an automated sequence. Let me move my big head. Yeah, sorry about that. Let me move my big head. So what are welcome automations? This is an automated sequence that captures a cold website visitor who opted into your pop-up, and you send up founder stories, social proof. So you're basically welcoming them into your brand, right? And you're gonna give them a discount on the pop-up to increase the probability of them booking, right? So it's basically just a warm welcome to a cold subscriber, making them warm and then hot, right? We have rebooking automations, right? These target people who haven't booked with you in 6 to 8 weeks to remind them, to come back, right? And you may include a little discount if you're feeling cheeky, right? And then we have win back automations, right? This is similar to the rebooking automation, but it just targets people who have sort of passed the average booking window, right? So this is people who haven't booked in 90 days, 120 days, right? So you're going to incentivize them with a little discount. You're going to tell them you missed them, etc., etc. It's been a while. It's going to be from the founder. It's going to be text. It's going to seem a lot more personal, right? Because these are people who haven't been to you in such a long while, and you want to, increase the probability of them booking. And then we also have no-show prevention, right? Every salon owner hates a no-show, right? You get a booking, everyone's excited, your stylist is ready, and then no one shows up, right? So we have a no-show prevention sort of email sequence that we're gonna deep dive into, in a couple of slides. And then we have a VIP client automation, right? This is, simple. After a client completes the 4th or 5th visit, depends on, what you deem VIP worthy, but you're just gonna send them a couple of automations, thanking them, getting them to refer their friends and asking them for feedback. But we'll get into that. Let me not spoil too much, right? So the welcome automation, right? As I mentioned, this is you just basically welcoming in a new cold subscriber and basically trying to close them, trying to get them to book with you, right? So as soon as they subscribe to the pop-up, they're gonna get the welcome and the offer, right? It's gonna be a nice designed email. It's gonna say, yeah, here's your 20% off. We welcome you, right? And then on the second day, right, a day after, you're gonna share your founder story, why you started the brand, right? And the beautiful thing about the automation is that once once the customer books, right, the automation is gonna automatically stop. So you're not gonna constantly spam them with the same messaging trying to get them to book, right? And each and every one of these emails should have a call to action to remind them to use that discount code and book with you, right? So day 2 is going to be bestsellers and social proof, right? You're going to be visually showing them, the best hairstyles from your salon that everyone books and everyone loves. And you're going to show them some reviews. And then day 3, you're going to handle objections. This is what's called objection handling in the realm of sales, right? So you're going to handle objections about particular questions about the stylists, about the products they use, about how long it takes, about whether you have Wi-Fi, parking, etc., right? These are the subtle things that are going to increase your bookings that most salon owners don't think about, right? So we have the rebooking automation, right? So this is the backbone of, recurring revenue, right? And recurring revenue is extremely important for salons, right? I was reading a Boulevard article, and it said that 90% of top performing salons revenue comes from not first time visitors, right? So only 10% of the revenue comes from first time visitors. That means they have very, very strong retention. And a rebooking automation is, one of the quickest ways to get very strong retention, because the reason most people don't come back is because they forget, right? They don't have a reason to, right? So after the appointment, you're going to send them a thank you, right? And this thank you email is going to be from the founder. It's going to be text-based, and it's going to mention that they reply to the email with any problems that they may have faced during the salon, right? Because when you think about it, when you go to a salon to do your hair, right, you may do your hair and you may not be satisfied with it, but you may not be confrontational and you may not want to kick up a fuss. So you're just gonna accept the bad hairstyle or the unsatisfactory hairstyle and leave and never come back, right? But if you as a salon owner can sort of handle that and say, hey, if you have any problem, as I know you may not have been able to communicate that in the moment, please reply to this email and we'd be more than happy to have you come in and fix it for free, etc., etc. You build an extremely strong bond with that customer because they have never experienced something like that before with any salon they've been to in their entire life, right? Day one after that, you're gonna send a review request. If they're satisfied, hey, please leave a review. As you know, with Google, having reviews is an extremely important way to improve your SEO and rank high when it comes to people searching for salons in your area. A week after that, you're gonna send hair based on the hairstyle they got. So if they got balayage, if they got an extension, if they got full color, you're gonna send an hair care based tip on that, right? And then 60 days after, you're gonna say, hey, it's time to reschedule, and then maybe give them a bit of a discount and etc. etc. But you get the general gist, right? You need a rebooking automation to increase the probability of them booking with you. Then we have the win back automation. This is just the rebooking automation, but for people who have passed that particular rebooking window, right? So after 90 days, you're gonna check in with them. Hey, is everything okay? We haven't seen you in a while. 3 years after that, you're gonna say, hey, we haven't seen you in a while. Here's $20 off your next appointment. We miss you, etc., etc. Then you're just gonna remind them to use it, and then after 7 days, last chance. If they don't book, then you just take them off the list. You stop emailing them because they clearly aren't just interested. You just email them on Black Friday when you have the biggest sale of the year. If that's how you operate, right? And then you have the no-show prevention, right? Empty chairs are the fastest way you bleed profit, right? If you aren't making money, you're losing money, right? Because you have fixed costs, right? So the no-show prevention is, the best way to make sure that people actually come into your salon and not show up, right? And the main premise that the two main things that I like to attack when it comes to preventing no-shows is excitement and social proof, right? After someone books with you immediately, typically your salon booking software will send out a generic, hey, your appointment is at this time, at this place. That's it. No, delete that immediately, right? What you need is, you need a founder to send out the email, right? Being funny, right? Humorous, right? Building a personal collection through the email, right? Handle objections, right? These people can't read your mind. They don't know what your salon looks like, especially if the first time. They don't know where to park. They don't know if you have Wi-Fi. They don't know if you offer complimentary drinks, etc., etc. Mention these things. Tell them what they need to bring, right? And get them excited, right? After people spend money online, they have buyer's remorse, right? So you want to eliminate that immediately, right? You want to show them social proof. You want to show them 5-star reviews of people who have been to your salon. Make sure that every email in this sequence has at least one 5-star review, right? So it's subconsciously showing them that where they're going is safe, where they're going, is trusted by other people like them in that area, right? You want to get them excited, show them videos of people who are walking into your salon and leaving happy, right? So make sure you think about that, right? When it comes to your no-show prevention automation after someone books, right? Get them excited and show them social proof to eliminate any doubt, right? And then you have the VIP client automation, right? So maybe you may know that 20% of your salon's clients generate 80% of the revenue, right? Maybe 30, 70, but this is called the Pareto principle, right? A philosopher, economist named Pareto found out that 80% of his P's were being generated by 20% of his P pods, right? And then he did this mass sort of analysis and saw that 80% of the real estate in Italy was owned by 20% of Italy's population, right? So this is a sort of fact that stands true, right? 20% of your clients are going to generate 80% of your revenue. So it is extremely important that you take care of these 20% of your clients like they are royalty, because they are bringing in the majority of your revenue, right? So make sure you have some sort of VIP incentive for them, right? Which is basically you making them feel special, right? So once they enter this VIP segment, you give them access to new hairstyles. You give them the tea on what's going on behind the scenes. You thank them and give them a free discount, right? You ask them for feedback because these people have been to your salon the most, right? And that feedback is going to be extremely valuable on how you can improve and how you can take your salon to the next level, right? And then give them a referral program so that they can bring in their friends, etc. So now we go into the email captures, right? So if you're sending traffic to your website, right, whether it's Google ads, whether it's Facebook ads, and you're not capturing any sort of information, you are wasting money. Money, you may as well just grab the $100 bill and put it on fire. Like, you may as well do that, right? Because you're not getting anywhere, right? If a luxury salon consumer visits a website, right, and leaves without you giving the info, the data is gone forever, right? You will probably never see them again, right? This is why email captures are so important, because you're collecting the zero party data and you're gonna market to them on the back end, right? And look, something similar to this, right? Answer this question for 20% off, right? Another thing to mention is make sure that you have a sort of short quiz, right? People love talking about themselves. People love answering quizzes, right? This will increase the probability of them signing up, right? We did this for a client. We used to have initially just a, hey, here's 20% off, give us your email. And we had about a 5% conversion rate. When we changed it to a quiz, we got to about 11% conversion rate. So make sure you have a quiz, right? Because people love talking about themselves. So the recap, right? Email marketing is not about sending random newsletters, right? Many of you may not even be doing email marketing, right? But if you are, it's not about sending random newsletters. It is about building a permanent digital infrastructure that consists of email captures, email automations, and email blasts, right? This is how you're going to generate the $80,000 in revenue that we generated for a salon client, right? This is how you're going to generate thousands of dollars from automations in a month, or just on autopilot, right? So if this sounds like something you are open to, but you looked at this whole video and you don't know how to technically set it up, you don't have the time to design it, blah 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 blah, don't worry. We are here, right? We're gonna give you a 7-day free trial. We're gonna build out all the automations for your salon. We'll let it run for 7 days. We'll show you how many bookings you got, and if you're satisfied, we'll continue doing it. And if not, then we'll just bye-bye. We'll leave. I don't see how this is bad for you, right? No risk whatsoever. So yeah, if this sounds like something you'd be open to, just go to www.chairflow.co. It will be in the bio, and just book a call. Be more than happy to chat with you. Have a great day and goodbye.